Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So, Ian fortunately is able to join us today despite having an urgent appeal, as I understand it. Ian?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I see we have a smaller group today. Latasha, hello, Buhle. Good to have you guys joining us. I'm just going to see if I can share my screen, because I want to just share a document which would make things quite a bit easier. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The Word documents. So I'm just going to briefly be discussing how to consult with counsel and how to keep it brief and how to keep it professional and how to agree and disagree with counsel. First and foremost, read your brief. Make sure your brief goes to counsel with at least a week to spare to afford your counsel time to prepare as well as consider the issues which are contained in the brief. This will make your consultation a lot quicker, a lot more efficient, and a lot less fishing. So how do you prepare for a consultation? As I've said, you'll study the matter's progress, or you'll consider the issues which are going to be in dispute or of a pending action. You will need to know the legislative implications, the case law, as well as articles may be very useful in how legislation is applied and how case law has affected legislation. It's very helpful to compile a reference list of progress points. In the Johannesburg region, in the application courts and the motion courts specifically, they have a chronological requirement which requires any and all opposed motions to have a set chronology of facts, which allows the judge to identify within 3 to 4 pages exactly what the time of the dispute has arisen. It makes it so much easier. Do this for yourself in the beginning, not at the end when you're waiting for the judge. So a very big point is, how do you handle disagreeing with advice?
I'm sorry, I would like
in this respect.
Sorry, I just want to jump in here about the chronology. Often, just from a strategic perspective, that chronology can actually serve a greater strategic purpose. It can serve to solidify your position set out in the papers and also to explain to counsel. Often I've experienced counsel being very grateful for my draft answering or replying affidavit, as the case may be, containing a short chronology, as it helps them to also become fay with the matter at hand. So chronology is definitely helpful. Sorry for jumping in there, Ian.
Not a problem. So how do you handle a dispute when you disagree with your counsel? You need to assume that everything has been read and discussed in your mind by both yourself and counsel beforehand. Remember, keep it professional. These are people operating in a professional environment and require a professional attitude. You must clearly cite your disagreements within 1 or 2 sentences. It must be clearly stated. I disagree because of X, Y, and Z as a result of case X, Y, Z, ABC. That's going to cite your disagreement. Offer your opinion. It is good to offer an insight into a matter. Remember, you can be wrong. Very possible to be wrong. You cannot arrogantly assume that your point of departure is correct. And in my experience, disagreements are more often misunderstanding, which comes from a lack of communication. That's why the chronology is so important, as it clarifies disputes as well as lacunas between understanding. You must also remember you're protecting your client's interest. You must not be afraid to speak up and offer your opinion in a professional manner. If you cannot do this, do not consult with counsel. You're going to create problems for yourself, your principal, or your firm. Now, something that is probably very popular with everyone, how to chastise counsel. It is required from time to time. I personally do it, and I have received chastising from clients and attorneys. All advocates, it must be remembered, sell time and experience, and they have to try and balance work, professional, and drafting and court appearances. This is all balanced and referenced against their experience. The more experienced an advocate, the more balance they have in their life, or the more balance they have in their professional life. When you are chastising counsel, it is more appropriate to do it in person, as it can be discussed and immediately clarified. As I said, sometimes it comes to a misunderstanding. This can be dealt with quickly, swiftly, and get done with. You don't need to spend 6 weeks about a delay. It can be handled very quickly, very easily. Okay, if you can't do it in person, do it via email. Keep it professional. Before you send that email, have a colleague read it, sleep on it, type the email, close it, send it the next day after you've proofread it. Do not send an email in anger. As I've said before and many times before, and I will continue to say it, keep being polite. At the end of the day, we are all professionals, we are all colleagues, and we're all here to forge a future in this profession for ourselves going forward, as well as our firms. If you cannot keep it polite and professional, have someone else do it. This must be said, and it's a big caveat. Do not hide behind other people. This will be a grave mistake on your part. Thank you, everyone. Are there any questions for me?
Actually, Ian, there's something that could be rather useful.
Tasha, Buhle, Noltandu, anything? I'm more than happy to answer questions while I'm here.
Ian, you know what? There is actually something that might prove helpful to the audience, and that is motivating counsel to attend to a particular matter within certain time frames. For instance, not per se an urgent application, but a particular piece of work needs to be completed within a month or 2 months, as the case may be, but counsel is a bit inundated.
You see, Bruce, this is a very good question, but that's why I say counsel must receive their brief within at least a week of the consultation, or if it's more urgent, as soon as it is ready. Now, it's axiomatic that a brief must contain a summary of the matter as well as an instruction. In this instruction, you must clearly set out timeframes, what must happen and what is expected and what is projected. So this, if I may, answers your question of how to motivate counsel. If your counsel is not motivated to stick within your mandated times, then it is perhaps time to consider getting different counsel. Welcome, Lebo.
Thank you, Ian, for that.
I see we have no more questions. I do apologize. I do have to run. I'm intervening in an appeal, and my meeting is today.
Go well and good luck.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful meeting.
Thank you very much. So, Alexa, I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, you're considering speaking about dealing with difficult officials, or am I very mistaken?
You are very mistaken, because I was trying to find out how many people here are still candidate attorneys and are still preparing for admission and everything, because I actually wanted to talk to them about what's going on, and it looks like Bruce Barkhazen is leaving. So I'm actually not sure who I'm talking to right now. But anyway, if you guys can just let me know who of you are candidate attorneys, who of you are admitted, how far you guys are, because I just want to give you a little bit of advice and a little story about what's currently going on with one of my friends, because she didn't read the rules, first of all, and she didn't listen to our very great advice. So she is about to get admitted. Like, her date is in March, guys. She is actually like there. But during her articles, she decided that she needed to make money somewhere else. And I fully understand that. Sometimes we're not getting paid what we need to actually live. You have to get a secondary job somewhere to try and sustain yourself. But if I can give you any advice, because what she's going through right now is going to be traumatizing for the next couple of weeks at least, is the fact that she didn't ask permission before she got that second job during her articles. And now she has to get an application done and a court order and apologize to the council for not just getting consent at the very beginning. So if you do, and I understand, believe me, during my articles I was broke too, I get you. If you do decide to go forward and get a job while doing your articles, you have to ask consent from the LPC. It is actually a rule, and if you're not sure which rule it is rule 22.1.5.1 of the rules of counsel, where it specifically states that us as candidate attorneys cannot, or when I was a candidate attorney, cannot accept office outside of our candidate attorney job. Like it's just not allowed. And all you literally have to do is go to the LPC, and I'm going to be super chilled with you guys and be like, yo, I'm broke. You understand where I'm coming from. Can I have consent going forward to get a second job? If you do that, you will literally cut out all of this nonsense that my friend is currently going through. She's not getting admitted in March, I can tell you that much. And after everything she's been through, now she's still have to like double down. So that's just some of my advice, especially when it comes to that part of your articles. And I know, because I've only been admitted now for a year. My anniversary is tomorrow. Actually, I'm super excited. But yes, I've only been admitted for a year. I understand how it is to be an article clerk. I understand if you're not living with your parents, because I know I didn't. It's very difficult, but at every point in your articles, do the right thing. Make sure that every rule that the LPC has put out, you follow. Every instruction you get, make sure it's obviously lawful. Don't be out here washing your people's cars, Bruce. Everything you do it as if you're getting admitted in the next few weeks, because your admission, just one mistake can be completely missed. And that is just a little bit of advice that I wanted to give you now. Are there any other, I know some of you said there weren't any questions. Law graduates still looking for articles? Congratulations, that's very fun. Candidate turning writing boards in March. Girl, good luck. No questions yet. So, okay, who else? So, one law graduate, one candidate attorney. How are you guys finding your articles? I know me personally, I did articles for 4 years, because my first 2 years I was completely abused by the people that I worked with. How are you finding it? Like, how's your mental health going? How is your working hours? I mean, it's something that we've actually discussed recently at our firm. How long you should work, if you should stay after 5, that kind of stuff. Do you guys have any advice for each other, actually?
I saw that somebody's looking for articles. I hope, Alexa, you don't mind me just jumping in.
No, please, let's have a discussion.
Yes. Actually, I'm interested in giving tips and tricks to increase the prospects of success in securing articles. Now, unfortunately, there's an oversupply of law graduates and a shortage of candidate attorney positions. These are the facts of life. Thankfully, there are things that you can do that work very well, mind you. For instance, when you're drafting your CV, please, for the love of God, excuse me, I'm quite religious, but please do not use Times New Roman. That font hurts most people's eyes when they're reading CVs. And having read, I'm at CV number 30 of our most recent recruitment drive. Make it easy for the person who's going to be reading it. Make sure that you use exciting, interesting words to captivate the reader, because your CV is actually a business card. It's an invitation to hire you. So the invitation should excite the reader and make them feel like this candidate looks great, right? He's using action words. He is highlighting achievements. He is he is a doer and a leader. Because bear in mind, in the legal profession, you need to be both. In court, you lead. And in the office, once you reach a particular position, you'll also be leading. But until then, you'll be doing in the office. And that's not something to be sneered at. We do need worker bees, for lack of a better expression. Most firms rely on them, and it's very important that firms actually have them. Think of litigation secretaries. So now that we've discussed a little bit more about the tone and language that should be used in the CV, please make it professional. Make it short. If your CV is longer than 10 pages, I'm going to say no off the bat. I'll be honest, if it's longer than 5 pages, I start feeling hesitant to read it. It shows an indecisive applicant. And so just keep it short, brief, to the point. You highlight your achievements. But now let's deal with some practical tips to help increase your chance of getting articles. Vacation work. Look for vacation work. Approach firms. Yes, unfortunately, this might involve working for free, but offer the firms saying, listen, go to the firms and offer them and make an offer to them saying, listen, I want a job shadow, or I want to do some vacation work, just so you can get some experience, see the court officials, hear what they say, get that experience. That experience is invaluable. It really shows you the difference between the academic side of law and the practical side of law. And believe it or not, most law firms are looking for candidate attorneys who can solve problems with minimal interaction from their superiors. It is a tall order to expect, but if you say, hey employer, I've actually got some vacation work. In particular, I used to go to court for firm X, Y, and Z. Already you are a foot above your you're already a shoulder above your competition. And you can go further with, for instance, internships and writing legal articles and showing your brilliance at work, your approach to matters, your unique insights. Because again, applying for a job, it might be stressful on your side, but from the employer's side, an employer is looking for, okay, who meets certain criteria? Does the person have an LLB degree? Yes, we actually do get CVs with people without an LLB degree asking to be candidate attorneys. I understand the desperation, and I completely get that. And so we have all sorts of different criteria. For instance, is the person situated close to the firm? How far are they? What is their command of the English language like? Are they computer literate? There are various criteria that's used. To be honest, sharpen your use of the not sharpen the use of your English language, but rather perfect your command of the English language so that you're able to eloquently put forth your client's position in court. Often that confidence carries over and helps strengthen your client's position. So that's great if you can show that to an employer. And that, again, is conveyed in the cover letter and the CV. And also computer skills. Guys, when you, believe it or not, each process and part of the candidate attorney intake process, the employer is watching to see what you do and how you do it. And that's also being considered. For instance, if you're asked to use 1.5 line spacing, please use 1.5 line spacing. It was not put in there by accident. It was done intentionally. But those are some of the tricks that come to mind when applying for articles. Alexa, what are your thoughts?
So like I said, as someone that had a very, very difficult first couple years, actually, with articles, when it comes to, especially for those who have just graduated, the VAC work is probably one of the most important things I can tell you to do, because Bruce and I are currently going through all of these CVs, because we're also looking to expand very soon. And one of the things that always catches my eye is experience. And I understand, like, I fully understand it's so hard to ask someone who just finished for experience. But that's why I tell a lot of my let's call them younger friends, like if my friend's little sister is studying law, I tell her from the get-go, from year one, from your first year at school, start doing that work. So we've had a lot of interns here for the longest time. And we throw them so deep into the shark tank when they get here. Like, we know for a fact that once we have released an intern back out into the world, they know what they need to know. When you actually put yourself into these internships and you actually get one, don't sit around waiting for them to give you jobs, because we as attorneys are so busy running around thinking about our own nonsense that we don't actually know what to do with our interns. Go around, ask questions, take books, take applications that they've drafted, and sit and learn, because these are the places where you're actually going to get that first-hand knowledge, that actual practical thinking. If you know people that are in the law industry, ask them for documents, ask them for things that you can go through, that you can read case law. So I know when we do our interviews for new candidates, Bruce is the worst person in the world, but don't tell him I said that, because he's going to ask you these things. And if you come out with, oh, on this case, so and so happened, I'm telling you, even Bruce will hit a smile. So before you start going for interviews, even before you start putting your CV out, make sure you are so knowledgeable. And yes, I know you just finished studying, but guys, I can tell you one thing, as someone who's been in this now for about 5 years, nothing I learned at varsity is actually used in my daily life. I actually have to go out and read all these articles that Bruce keeps sending me and read all these case law things. My camera's off now because I'm rolling my eyes so much, but it is so important to bettering yourself, knowing so much more than they expect you to know. Because you just came out of varsity. We expect you to know how to draft a letter of demand, the most templated version we've ever seen in our lives. But if you can, when we interviewed our candidate attorney, Lisa, she threw stuff at me that I didn't know. She was literally hired on the spot. Make sure that you are going to wow whoever's the next person seeing you. And if you're going to do the internship, make sure you take as much as you physically can from the people that you are working with. So that is my 2 cents right there.
Thank you, Alexa. I couldn't agree more with you. You must actually be like a sponge. Absorb every little bit of knowledge, information that comes your way. I'm going to sound like a complete nerd, but during my lunchtime, I actually read case law. It's a nice change of pace, but it also keeps me abreast of what's happening, how the courts, this is an emotive word, but feel about certain aspects of the law. It gives me a particular insight to tell my client, listen, strictly speaking from a legal perspective, you got a home run. However, because this is this type of matter, we're going to have a bit of a difficulty convincing the judge because of these reasons. For instance, the likes of eviction. That's unfortunately always a hard one, but nevertheless, because you get a feeling for how the courts view it, you can actually advise your client a little bit better. I often say that law has a particular feel to it. So show that when you're speaking to prospective employers or principals, as the case may be, show that you're hungry for the position, for the work, for the law, you're passionate. Believe it or not, if that comes across in the interview, you have a very good chance of getting the job. I know it's something I actually look for, that hunger, the thirst, the desire. And to be perfectly honest, I don't like losing, so. That being said,
Another thing. Sorry, Bruce. Just so for those who obviously haven't started articles yet, you're obviously hearing a lot of horror stories, me obviously being one of them, about the way you sometimes get treated at firms and the hours that you work. I mean, when I started, I think my first firm, I would literally get to the office at 6 a.m. in the morning and leave midnight. That was my hours, and then I'd probably get into trouble for not finishing something. I want to just put it in you that before you go into this, you need to know that law is a difficult job. It is a difficult job, and it's a job for strong people. The weak do not survive in the world of law. And I was the weakest link of them all. I'm so lucky with the boss that I have now, with the senior that I have now, with the colleagues that I have now, because imagine, I'm not done. They broke that part of me, but it needed to happen. I am an eviction attorney, so that you can't be soft with that kind of job. So another piece of advice that I actually want to give you is keep your heart soft. Keep the love, the emotion, everything that we as human beings have. But the second you walk into your office, put it in the cupboard. You have to be able to look through those emotions, and it took me a very long time to learn that, because I was at the second firm that I worked at. They used to throw staplers at our heads, and I was threatened to be thrown out of the 14th floor window. It's difficult, and you're going to cry a lot, and you're going to want to throw things at people. You're going to want to leave. I wanted to leave this current company many times. I would never have met these amazing people that I work with now if I left. You need to dig deep. You're going to need to dig very deep and remember who you are. They're probably going to say horrible things to you, probably going to treat you like nothing. Push through, people. Push through, and once you get admitted, you turn around and you hold your head up high and you move forward with your life. Don't run from every single thing that's going to happen, because I did. I ran and I added 2 years onto my life that I didn't need to add. So when you think about your future, when you think about going forward, just remember that. Take it in. It's going to probably happen. You're going to have bad days, but I promise you, you are going to get through it. So that's another just a piece of advice. I don't want to see any people coming after me go through what I went through. And if you ever need to talk to someone that's been through it, or you know someone, I'm always here for people to talk to as well. Just putting that out there also.
Alexa's right. This is a brutal profession. Be prepared for it. Often my colleagues make jokes that I am heartless at times, but truth is I rather have a big heart. And the problem is that you just need to understand that you must not sympathize with your client. That is very dangerous. That's a very slippery slope. Then you start taking the matter personally, even worse. And even by far the worst case scenario, where you are so involved in the matter that you can't see the forest for the trees, or the trees for the forest. In other words, you've lost your objectivity. You are seeing particular legal conclusions that might not be supported by the evidence. And you are almost convinced beyond belief that they exist. And that's something you must just be mindful of. And I know that I'm saying you need to be heartless in essence, but it helps. It helps you, and it's also better for your client. Simple, you can say, sorry to hear about your situation, but don't say, oh, yes, poor client, I need to do everything in my power to help client. You can say that as part of your client engagement, but never lose your objectivity. Your client will thank you for having it. They can experience all the emotions that they want. You can even tell them exactly that. But always try to guide them, be there for your client. And that's something that took a while for me to learn. And also some clients are going to ignore you outright. Your boss is going to ignore you, and they're going to scream and shout at you, both of them simultaneously at you, and you're going to feel like you're the biggest failure. Unfortunately, those of us who've become attorneys, we've made a number of mistakes, but to our credit, we've also learned how to fix those mistakes. it's a profession in which you are seeing new mistakes each and every day, be it your own, your colleagues, or even the opposition's. So sorry about going on a little bit of a rant. Lebel, I saw you raised your hand.
Oh yes, I wanted to add on to what you said about having sympathy for your clients, and I just want to give a quick introduction. I'm Level. I was a candidate for about 2 years. I was working for an all insurance law firm, and then got admitted. I'm also having my first year anniversary in March. Alexa, I'm with you there.
Hey.
Hi, and I am actually now practicing for my own account. So, with the little experience that I have with running on matters, there's one thing that I've noted with a lot of senior colleagues, and it's that they don't have grace when it comes to having younger colleagues and with their candidates as well. Having a candidate attorney practice with you, they are learning and they pick up the attitude of their seniors and their attorneys who are basically training them. So now, without that grace that those attorneys don't have, those candidate attorneys also pick it up and they go around with attitude without realizing that this practice of being an attorney may be big, but at the same time, it is a small world. That today I might be good on my own, but tomorrow, Bruce, I'm going to need your assistance because we may be opponents today, but tomorrow, Bruce, I'm running late. Can you please assist me? Please tell the judge that, look, yeah, I just need 10 minutes. I will be there. And that's the things that candidate needs to learn to understand, that the fight of your principal is not the fight that you should pick up with your colleagues. And also, attorneys need to understand that when we talk about objectivity and how you feel, you're going to get a judgment that's not in your favor today. That doesn't mean tell your client they can consistently do whatever they want, because that judgment does not work in favor of your client, because at the end of the day, you end up with a contempt of court order. You end up messing up the client's life because you were not objective in advising your client. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Lebel. I agree fully with you, and congratulations. It's hard starting a business at the best of times, and especially getting new clients in for the firm, which is something now more and more junior candidate attorneys are expected to do. So in future sessions, we can also discuss how to engage clients with the view of procuring work, and to make sure that you've got a client for life rather than a once-off, milk them for as much as they've got sort of situation. I did see an interesting question from Tabi Singh. I hope I pronounced it right. I apologize if I did not. Regarding your question as to whether or not you should seek articles while you're doing your PLT, or finish your PLT and then articles thereafter. Truth be told, that's a personal choice whether or not you want to start getting articles now or get articles after you finish your PLT. Alexa, your thoughts?
So wait, are you doing law school or the nighttime school? Because if I remember correctly, you have to be an article clerk to be doing the PLTs. And Toby Singh, can you unmute yourself? Is that a possibility? Hi.
I did. Afternoon, guys.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
I am currently doing the UNISA distant learning option with the Law Society of South Africa. Mm-hmm. So I attend my classes right after work.
Okay.
If you can find someone, so our candidates also do the PLTs after work, and it's every single day now. If you can find someone that would allow you to do that and maybe leave a little earlier because of traffic and everything, then I would suggest, if you can find articles now, jump in. It's going to be difficult. I did my articles and my PLTs all at the same time as well. It's definitely worth it as someone that took so long to get through everything myself.
Also,
but it also depends on your outside life. It's not just work and class. There's more to life.
But how did you juggle both? How did you create the balance? Because I'm looking at these guides. Lord, it's a lot.
It's so
Especially
much.
when you have to. So I'm thinking if I have to now really practicalize the knowledge from a candidate attorney point of view, it would be like a bus knocking on me or something.
I think from the way that I see it, Bruce and I are very, and my candidate's probably going to look at me and laugh right now, but we're very fair seniors. So we do understand that during this time of their PLTs, we have to sort of take a step back and understand what they have to do to move themselves forward, because help them help us. So watching it doesn't seem that bad, because from our side, we're letting things sort of slide a little bit to assist them. I can imagine if you have a boss like my previous bosses, you could never do it. I could never have done it. Articles and PLTs with those kind of bosses doesn't work. So it would all depend on who you are working with at that time. Because I breezed through it. I breezed through my articles. Once I started working here, I breezed through my PLTs. A young brag, I passed all 4 boards at the same time. But it was all because of the people that I work with. That's the deciding factor.
Sorry, can I interrupt? In terms of saying, just a little from what I did was I finished my LLB degree, and then during the time that when I started first year, I was already within vacation. I was fortunate enough to have family members already running their own practices, so I was doing a lot of vacation work from first year up until my final year, and then I literally could see I did not have the work balance life. I was not going to be able to do it in terms of studying and then having to work, because doing it in June and then putting it in practice, that I was having to make a decision when I was going to have to look for articles specifically, because I don't want to work for family, that would I be able to cope with the work and then also still manage in terms of having to attend night school. For me, it was not an option, so I chose that for the first 6 months I was definitely going to be doing law school on a full-time basis, and then within the time of me doing law school, I was actually looking for articles. So I did the 6 months, and then for a 2-month period while I was looking for articles, I actually, believe it or not, was pushing boxes at UNISA, and then I was fortunate enough to find a law firm, and then it was a breeze going on forward. So to ease off the stress of having to work and then having to study.
That is helpful information. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Again, it comes down to, I suppose, what sort of deal you can work out with your principal if you have one, or it depends on. The bottom line in my mind is complete PLTs. It's important. You cannot become admitted without having completed them. And there's only so many intakes during the year, whereas various firms are taking in various numbers of candidate attorneys throughout the year. So it is a bit of a, which is more important, and it's not easy to choose. But that being said, see what works for you, I suppose. But I'm also mindful of the time, guys. I hate to do this, but I'm going to run soon. Alexa, I don't know if you can continue, but I've got a meeting.
Unfortunately, I have a meeting as well in the next 5 minutes. I already pushed it once. I'm just so sad because I feel like that was such a beautiful session. I know I just blabbered on, but I hope I said something that could touch someone.
Yes, you did. Sorry. You did. Thank you so much for this, guys. Can we have one soon, please? That would be nice.
Definitely. The next session will be in 2 weeks, and I hope you guys will be here, and I hope you guys come with questions.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank
you guys for your time.
We appreciate you guys and what you've done. Definitely come for next time. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.